There's a story that I really love in the Gospel of Luke. You can find it in chapter 10. It's the story of the Good Samaritan, which I'm sure all of you know really well. The story goes a little bit like this. There's this guy and he's out one day and he's on a walk and he suddenly gets jumped on by a band of thieves and robbers, and they strip him of everything that he has and they beat him up and they toss him into the ditch and leave him for dead at the side of the road. And the first person to come walking down the street after this event takes place is a priest, and a priest would have been known as a very religious person. He would have been seen in all the right religious places and talked all the right religious talk. But it says as he walks down the road and he sees the hurting, dying, desperate, broken man in the ditch, he crosses to the other side and he goes about his way. And then comes a Levite, again, someone who would have been seen in all the right religious places, talked all the right religious talk. But as he walks down the road and sees this guy, hurting and broken and desperate and lying in a ditch, he too crosses to the other side of the road and goes about his day. And then comes a Samaritan man. Now, a Samaritan man would not have been known as, a very religious person. He wasn't seen in all the right religious places. He did not know all the right religious things to say. In fact, in the culture of the day, he was seen as an outcast of society. But the story tells us that as he sees this guy, just lying in the ditch, he stops and he goes over and he tends his wounds. And then he puts him on the back of his donkey and he takes him to get help. And when Jesus finishes telling this story, he turns to the crowd who are around him and says, now you go and do likewise. You go love, you go live like this Samaritan man. See, James 1:27 says to us that pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father is to care for the orphan and the widow in her distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. Pure and genuine religion isn't just about how we do church or where we gather and with whom we gather and how we worship and how we study the word. All of those things are very important, absolutely. They're things that should be grown and nurtured in our lives, but pure and genuine religion doesn't stop there. It goes on much further than that. You see, if all we do is learn how to spend time with God and receive from him for ourselves and never then go out into our communities, into our street, into our neighbourhood and give away what it is that we've received, what does that make us? I think it makes us no better than the priest and the Levite in this story. And I absolutely believe with every fibre of my being that God did not create his church, whatever expression of church that looks like, us, the church, his people. He did not create us to be people of inactivity and passivity, but he created us to be those who go out into every street and every neighbourhood and every highway and every byway and invade those places with the love and the life and the redeeming power of Jesus Christ. That's what we were created for. I love it in 2 Corinthians 5. It says this: we are ambassadors of the Anointed One who carry the message of Christ to the world as though God were tenderly pleading with them directly through our lips. It doesn't matter whether you live in Africa or England, a palace or a slum. That's not important. That's just geography. What matters is what we are doing with what we have been given. Freely we have received, so now freely we must go and give. And so 3 very simple steps to help you become those ambassadors of light, to help you know how to live out this pure and genuine religion in your community, in the everyday. Well, step number 1, in order for us to be able to go out and love our communities well, we first need to work out how to receive that love for ourselves first. I mean, it's just basic principle, isn't it? You can't give away what you don't have. It's not rocket science. I always say to my team all the time, I could tell you that I want to give you a mango and I could describe what that mango is going to taste like and the smell of it as I lift it up to my lips and the taste as I take my first bite and the juice explodes in my mouth and runs down my chin. I could tell you how beautiful this mango is going to be when I give it to you. But if I don't have a mango in my hand, I cannot give you one. And so it is with love. So it is with Jesus. First of all, we have to learn how to receive for ourselves on a daily basis how to receive afresh from him, so that when we go out of our front door, we have something fresh to give away. It's in those places of encounter that our hearts are changed. It's in those places where we encounter his love that our hearts begin to become aligned with his, and we begin to see people how he sees them, how he loves them. And then from that place, we can go out and be his ambassador, to be his hands and feet in that. So number one, learn how to receive his love for yourself first. Number two, learn how to live humbly. Learn how to love humbly and without an agenda. We don't go out into our communities, into our neighbourhoods, into the mission field with an agenda. We don't go out as saviours or as healers. There is only one saviour. There is only one healer, and his name is Jesus. We simply go out to be his representative. We go out to love for the sake of love, for the sake of love himself. That's all. We go out because we're so consumed and transformed by his love ourselves, we can't help but just give it away freely with no agenda, no agenda. I think the poor particularly, they see behind acts of kindness and generosity that have a hidden agenda behind them. They tune into that very quickly. Love takes time. Relationship takes time. Building trust takes time. It's my experience that the more broken the person that we're working with, the more broken the community that we're seeking to serve, the longer it takes to build relationship and trust. But once it's built, it's priceless. It's a gateway into people's lives. But this takes, as I said, longer than you think sometimes. And it's not about seeing a need and just jumping into action, but it's about listening to the need, hearing what the root of the need is and the heart of the person who finds himself in that need, and then together with them working out what the solution to their situation is. Let's be humble-hearted. Let's not assume we are the ones who know what the need is. Let's hear it from the people themselves and then aim to meet it together. I think, well, one of the things, I guess, the Lord spoke to us very early on when we first began to pioneer these missional communities in Africa was he said to us, make sure you're careful in all that you do, that you are always seeking to restore dignity in the midst of people's poverty. Our job is not to come over the top of people and grab them and pull them up into a different life. It's to come alongside them and to represent Jesus to them and walk with them into a different life. It's a together thing. The heart of why we do what we do is really, really important. And once you get to know the heart of a person and you discover the true need of a community or an individual, then you figure out with them what it is that you're going to do to bring resolve. And if somebody's hungry, we work out how we get food. If someone is struggling with debt, maybe we look at helping them with their budgeting and some advocacy. Maybe if people are exhausted, it's a single mum and she's exhausted looking after her children, maybe it's offering to take the kids to the park. Maybe if someone's feeling lonely, it's simply just to spend time. Mother Teresa used to say, love, in order to be genuine, doesn't have to be extravagant. But what the world needs is a love that doesn't get tired. So number 2, love humbly, love without an agenda. And number 3, introduce them to Jesus, the person of Jesus. It's our experience that as you start to practically demonstrate the love of God to people, they soon ask the question, why are you doing what you're doing? And they soon get to the point where they're curious about the person who is behind the act. We have often discovered that as you live love out to your neighbour, to your street, they soon want to meet the one who is love himself behind the act. And let's be bold, let's be courageous. When people say, why are you doing this? Why would you want to help me? Sometimes I think it's tempting to just we feel awkward and we just want to say, I just wanted to help you, or I'm just part of a church down the road who's running a program. But why not take that opportunity to go straight into the heart of the matter and say, well, Jesus has taught me a lot about what love looks like through how he's loved me and how he's cared for me. And I just want to pass that on because it changed my life and I believe it can change your life too. Let's just get real. Let's get straight to the heart of the matter. Let's not be afraid to speak his name. Let's not be afraid, to introduce people to him. Often we just say, we've encountered a man named Jesus. I'm sure you've heard of him, and he loves us, and his love has changed our lives, and his love can change your life too. We just want to express his love to you today, that you would just receive a small amount of what it is that we've received in our own lives. But if you want to meet him, I'll happily introduce you. Throw it out there, see what people say. We have this saying in our ministry at Every Life that love has the power to transform everything it touches. God's love expressed to you and through you in simple, practical ways really does have the ability to transform lives, to transform families, and to transform whole communities. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it practical. But let's keep it rooted, grounded, and established in the one who is love himself, in Jesus. And then watch and see what only he could do through that offering of our lives.